Every year it's the same, just a few rays of sunshine are enough to make us want to start the first sowings. Often it's too early and doesn't work. Sometimes we're careful and wait, but then it's too late and doesn't work either. In this video, I'm going to give you a gift that will allow you to make all the right sowings at the right time. So this gift isn't complicated. It's a chart that you can download for free. There's no catch in this chart. You'll find all the plants you need with all the sowing periods. I really explain in the video how to use it. Additionally, there's a lot of valuable information for your sowings. To access this chart, you'll need a computer and internet. Since you're on YouTube, you already have these. And then if you want the paper version like this, you'll need a printer and maybe a laminator. That's up to you. So in this video, first I'll explain how to get this. It'll be quick. Then I'll show it to you in detail and you'll see all the ways you can use it and even how to add to it. Everything is open access and free to modify. And then at the end of the video, I'll also give you a bunch of tips to help you succeed with your seedlings, do them properly at the right time and all that. As I mention, every year you ask many questions about seedlings, so I make videos on them annually. I'm putting some links up there in the top right to other videos about seedlings with some tips and all that. There's also the Forest Garden series month by month, in which I tell you every month about the plants and vegetables especially that you need to sow. Forest Garden isn't just about fruit or anything like that, it's also about vegetables and garden plants. So in those videos you'll find a lot of information. And now I'm going to show you this tool I've been working on for quite a while. Alright, let's go. So to get this table, go to my website lejardindesmerveilles.net. In the My Shares tabs, there's a sub-tab called Documents. And on this page, take a look around. You'll often find other interesting things. There's a little box that explains a bit about how all of this works. So, you'll find several categories. And in the Semence C category, you'll download, or rather, click on the button Seeds and Time. So, it will download automatically. You'll get a document that contains this table, among others. You'll see there are several tables. Quick tip, I've offered documents like this for free download for a while. They're made with the LibreOffice suite, which has a Word equivalent, an Excel equivalent, all that. So this table was made with an Excel equivalent, but not with Excel. So, if you're working on Excel, maybe you won't be able to open it, so what you can do to make everything work is download the LibreOffice suite. That's also completely free, and it's explained on the page of my website. You have the links, so that should be simple. Just do that. Once the table is open on your computer, return to the video and I'll explain what you'll find in it. So, you can completely change the order in which the plants are arranged. You can arrange them in any order you want. Right now, they're sorted by plant category and within each category in alphabetical order. If you want to change the order, you go to the Data tab, Sort Data, and then you choose the order you want to arrange them in. That's not the most important part. I'll show you what's in this table and note that it contains several other tables. At the bottom of the table are several tabs: Seeds, Sowing Period, and Printable. As mentioned earlier, there is no protection at all. You can modify all the data as you wish if you don't want to lose any data. Consider saving an original version before editing a new one, ensuring you don't lose the original. You can always download it again from the website if needed. Just so you know, I update it regularly on my end and upload the latest version to the website, so if you come back later it might be more complete. Another thing, I made this table myself by gathering information and data from various sources. I'm not the first gardener to do this, so I went and collected data from other gardeners who have done it, and I gathered information from websites and gardening books. Anyway, that's why there's a lot of information in this table, and I want to let you know that this data, this information isn't always perfectly accurate or completely correct. There might also be some typos. I didn't have an editor, no one came to check my data, so I'm just giving it to you as is. Just so you know, this is just my own work as a gardener. I was going to say amateur, but actually no, it's been my profession for a while now. But anyway, there still might be some mistakes, and actually if you find any errors you can let me know and I'll correct them. In all three tables you'll have the same list of plants, it's the same plants, the same number of plants will be present. You should know that you'll have 57 vegetable plants, 44 perennial vegetables, 30 aromatic plants and 25 flowers. And about 10 plants that are unclassifiable. They're called unclassifiable or original, I can't remember, something like that. These are all the more unusual plants. I don't really know which category to put them in. You should know that all of these are the plants that I produce, and that's why they're listed in this table as we go along, even if sometimes they're very unusual plants. You'll see then the first table, the first tab, the seeds. Just know that it's the least complete table. You'll see there are a lot of rows that haven't been filled in yet. At the time I'm recording this video, it might be a bit more complete by the time I publish it. But yeah, this table isn't finished yet. I'm still working on it, but I can already tell you the information you'll be able to find. In the first column, you'll have the common name of the plant. In the second column, you'll have the Latin name, and in the third column, the category. Whether it's a vegetable, herb, or perennial vegetable, those same first three columns appear on the second table. Next, you'll have a column that might not interest everyone. It interests us because we sell seeds. This column shows how many seeds are in a gram, which will help you know the size of the seeds. That may not be the column you're most interested in, but the next ones are. The second is germination capacity, meaning how long seeds stay viable. That can be useful for you. If one day you come across an old packet of seeds you have at home, your seed packet is 2 years, 3 years, 4 years old, and you don't know if they're still good. First of all, this information will tell you how long seeds are generally supposed to last. Well, after that, it also depends on how they've been stored. Do a germination test, and then you'll see the other column is the germination temperature. That's useful to know if it's the right time to sow them, if it's the right season. If you need to put them on a heating mat or in a heated greenhouse or in a cold greenhouse, you'll see that this column is important to look at along with the next column. Germination time. Keep in mind that this germination time is more of a range, and it will depend on the temperature at which you germinate your seeds. The warmer it is, the faster it goes. If it's cold, it goes slower. So these two columns are useful in relation to the seeds you're planting. For example, I often sow on a tray like this, or I'll plant several seeds on the same tray, and I try to choose seeds that have similar characteristics that will germinate at the same temperatures. That way, I put them all in the same place to germinate, since it's on a tray, and most importantly, they'll take the same amount of time to germinate. This keeps me from having things that sprout early, and then just for a few seeds that haven't germinated, I have to keep my whole tray. Anyway, so I try to group seeds that have the same characteristics. And then, all the way to the right, you have an info-diverse column, but in this case, that column is not complete at all. As I gather information about certain plants, I add it there, information that's related to the seeds or the seedlings. Next, the second table. So the second table is the one you see on the screen, and that's the one you'll have. So the sowing periods, you'll see several colors in the boxes. When it's green, it means it's for sowing in a nursery. When it's orange, it means it's sowing you can do directly outside in open ground, or even in open ground in a cold greenhouse as well. In any case, directly in open ground without needing to go through the nursery. For most plants, you can first sow them in a nursery, and then it's possible to sow them directly in open ground. For others, it's only possible to sow them in a nursery. For tomatoes, I always start them in a nursery, never directly outside. Some other plants can only be sown directly in open ground. For fava beans, carrots, and radishes, I never start them in a nursery. I always sow them directly in open ground. Sometimes it's in blue, but I think those plants don't belong in this chart when the boxes are blue. That means they're seeds meant to be sown in the cold, in autumn or winter, and need stratification. Just so you know, when it comes to seeds, generally they're tree seeds or other types of woody plants, but rarely vegetables. Just so you know, I've already made a chart about all the seeds that need to be stratified, along with the stratification methods. You'll also find that chart on my website in the same seeds category. Before I give you 2 or 3 more details about this chart, the third chart is called To Print. It's the same version but for printing, so it's the same chart where I removed a few columns just so it would fit on an A4 sheet. So if you want to print and you want to have that chart, just go to the To Print tab and print it. Normally it comes out directly if you don't want to have such a big chart, because otherwise it will take up 4 sheets like that. If you want to print it as is, just delete the plant rows that don't interest you or the plant categories that don't interest you, or split the rows to make several charts with the aromatic vegetables on one side. Here you go, organize it as you like. I'm giving you the full version, do what you want with it. Now a few quick tips. Regarding the sowing periods that are indicated, they are based on reference zones in France, and these are not the same everywhere. If you're in a warmer region, you'll be able to sow earlier in the spring, and for some plants you can even sow them later in the fall. And if you're in colder regions further north or in the mountains, then you'll need to adapt and sow accordingly. A little later in the spring and then a bit earlier in the fall, that's it. And after that, there are plenty of methods and ways to do things which are very subjective. It depends on how you work. All these periods are adapted to the way I work, so there you go. After that, just adjust a bit to what you want to do with it. Another thing to know is that the indicated periods extend over several months. Most of the time, it's very rare for plants to be sown at just one specific time. So as I was saying, you'll need to adjust these periods according to your region. And even if you can sow throughout an entire period, it won't necessarily work best during the whole time. When, for example, you have a sowing period that stretches over 2 or 3 months, the best time will be the middle month, or really the middle of the sowing period. The beginning of the period is usually when it's still cold. You can take the risk of sowing then, but there's always a risk. And then at the end of the period, it's going to be borderline, a bit late. Maybe you'll have crops that are very late, or maybe for some plants you'll have less production. Flowering occurs late in the season, so the best time is mid-period. However, you shouldn't limit sowing to just that time. The other tip I'm going to give you is, if you have a certain amount of seeds, don't sow everything at the beginning thinking, at least that's done. Plant a small amount at the start of the period when it's still somewhat risky. Maybe you'll lose those, but it's not a big deal. It's just a small portion of the seeds. And then sow the largest quantity you have, or your best seeds, at the best time, right in the middle of the indicated period, and then keep a little bit to sow later to maybe have some late season crops. There's another thing you can adjust depending on what you want to grow, I don't know. For example, with coriander. If you want leaves or seeds, you won't grow them at the same time. If you want to produce seeds or even flowers, you'll need to sow earlier so your plants can easily reach the flowering stage and produce seeds. If the idea is just to produce leaves, you can sow them later. It's not a problem, but be careful if you sow too late, especially for coriander. If we stick with this example, you'll soon have a period of heat coming, which might cause it to go to seed. So that's all about that. You need to adapt it. As I was saying, sowing periods are very subjective. All right, I'll finish with 2 or 3 little tips, a couple of tricks you should pay attention to. For everything you sow in a warm nursery, know that the earlier you sow, the higher the risk of frost periods that could kill everything, or cold spells that could slow down the growth of your plants. So, for these plants, you'll need to have a space where you can keep them warm. The number of seeds or plants you sow will depend a bit on the amount of warm space you have. It often happens to me in the spring that I get really enthusiastic about starting lots of seedlings. And then, when it starts to get cold and I have to bring them inside to keep them warm, I don't have enough space, so sometimes I end up losing some of them just because of that. So, be careful. There are different things you can take into account when choosing what to plant, especially the growth rate. For example, chili peppers, bell peppers and eggplants are plants that grow quite slowly, so I really try to plant those as early as possible. Let's say around February I'll start sowing them. On the other hand, tomatoes grow quickly, so I won't start with tomatoes. For chili peppers and bell peppers, I'll start with those, along with eggplants and tomatoes. I'll save them for later since they'll catch up. Also, when I say tomatoes, I include all cucurbitaceae. They're sensitive to cold, so we'll wait for those too. And those grow very quickly, so I definitely won't sow everything at the same time. I'll do them in small batches over a fairly spread out period, and they sprout very quickly. Alright, now if you want more advice, go check out all the other videos I've linked for you up there on the top right, because as I was saying, I've made quite a few about sowing. Now I hope you'll like this chart. Go ahead and let me know in the comments what you think about it and any mistakes you find. If there are still some plants missing from the chart, that's possible. There are only 160 or 170, so it's possible a few are still missing, so let me know about that too. And then, if you have any remarks, comments or objections, don't hesitate to let me know. Come on, if you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up and share it if you think others might like it too. And then what? Subscribe to the channel if you don't want to miss the next videos. And if you want to support me financially, well, I'll put a little link over here to my Tipeee page. There you go, a bit of support. It's nice since the diagrams and everything are free. I don't make anything from that, so if you want to support me, it's up to you. You're not even obligated. Alright, I hope all of this will be useful to you, and I'll see you soon for more videos. Bye.